Hello, welcome to another episode of Peace Evangelical Lutheran Church's Sermon Podcast. Today, we are celebrating Easter, the culmination of the Lenten season. We are delving into the resurrection story in Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 10, which depicts the resurrection as a more life-changing, destabilizing event than it is sometimes portrayed. Listen until the end to immerse yourself in one of the most powerful stories in the Bible. And as always, thank you for listening and for giving this show a follow.
So an earthquake is not a metaphor for something peaceful. I want us to sit with that for just a second, because I think we rush past it. We get to Easter and we want the lilies and the brass and the joy, and we deserve all that. But Matthew says when Jesus rose, the earth shook. The stone didn't drift quietly to the side. The guards didn't politely step away. The angel didn't tiptoe in. Everything destabilized. And I think that might be the most honest expression and statement of grace for us this morning. It doesn't tidy things up. It doesn't smooth everything over and make it pretty. It shakes the ground underneath everything you thought was fixed. Which, if you've been paying any attention to the world lately, maybe that's exactly the kind of grace we need. Because the ground has been shaking for a while now, hasn't it? And I don't think I have to tell you that. You felt it when you woke up this morning. Some of you felt it before you even got here. Some of you are carrying things into this room that you haven't been able to put down in months. A grief that you can't explain to people who haven't felt it. The tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, a little hum of anxiety about the state of things, the country, the climate, a relationship, a diagnosis, a slow unraveling you can feel but you can't quite name. Some of you came this morning because Easter felt like a reason to show up. Some of you came because someone invited you and it seemed easier to say yes than to explain why not. Some of you have been here every week since Ash Wednesday, and you are tired in a particular way that only Lent can produce. All of you belong here, every single one of you. This story was made for exactly this kind of room, because the first people to show up that morning, that first Easter morning at the tomb, they weren't in great shape either. Matthew tells us it was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. And they came to the tomb just to see it. That's all. No explanation given, because grief doesn't really need one. You've probably done the same thing. Driven past a place where something hard happened just to be near it. Sat in a room that still holds the presence of someone you've lost. You don't have a plan. You just go. They weren't expecting the resurrection. They were expecting a sealed stone. Roman guards, the awful work of mourning. They came to sit with their sorrow, not to celebrate anything. And here's why that matters for us. All through Lent, we've been on this journey together, encounters with grace. We met grace in the wilderness, in questions we couldn't answer, in moments of doubt we were afraid to say out loud. We met grace in extravagance, and in betrayal and in suffering. We met grace at some very unlikely places. None of those encounters were comfortable. None of them arrived on schedule. Grace kept showing up when we weren't looking for it. These women are us. Showing up, not because we expect a miracle, just showing up because we don't know what else to do. And grace, it turns out, has been waiting exactly for that. And so here's what happened when they got there. I don't want to move past this too quickly, because this is the part that changes everything. Not just for them, not just for that morning back then, but for this morning right now too. The earth shook, an earthquake, an angel appeared. Matthew says dazzling, blinding white. And the stone was rolled away, not gently, more like flung. And then the angel sits on top of it, just settles right down on it as if to say, look at this thing that's supposed to be permanent. Look at this thing the empire used to declare this is finished, this is over, there's nothing left to see here. The guards, Roman soldiers trained for exactly this kind of situation, collapsed. The seal of imperial authority, the same authority that had put Jesus on that cross, gave way. And here's the detail that stops me every time I read it. By the time all of it happened, Jesus had already left. Grace was never really contained in there. It was never actually held. It rose before the stone even moved. This is the thing that I need you to hear today. This whole season has been building toward this. Grace is not contained by death. It is not controlled by systems. It is not eliminated by sealed tombs or imperial authority or our own low expectations. The tomb was never a match for grace. And neither is whatever feels sealed and final in your life right now. Grace rises, and now it's unbound, loose in the world, and there's nothing that can put it back. The women see all of this. They hear the angel. They look into the empty tomb. And Matthew says they left with, and I love this, fear and great joy. Both at the same time, not one and then the other, both at once. And I think that might be the most pastorally honest sentence in the whole story. Matthew doesn't resolve the tension between fear and joy. He holds them together. And you know what? Both are true. Fear makes sense here. Everything is shifted. The world has been cracked open. Nothing will ever be the same. Joy also makes sense. He's alive. Jesus, the one who was crucified, the one laid in that tomb, is alive. Grace has risen. Death didn't win. If you find yourself in the same place as these women this morning, maybe that's exactly right. You don't have to have it figured out to belong to Easter. You can hold the tension too. Grieving and hopeful, afraid and joyful, uncertain and still walking towards something. That's not a failure of faith. That's what happens when resurrection meets real human beings for the first time. And then Jesus meets the women on the road, in the middle of their fear, not waiting for them to compose themselves first, not waiting for the feelings to settle. He shows up. He says simply, greetings. Grace, unbound, showing up before they even have a chance to catch their breath. But I want to go back for a moment because the angel said something before they left the tomb, something worth paying attention to. There's a sequence in it, and the sequence matters. Come and see the place where he lay, and then go quickly and tell. Come and see first, look at the place of death before you run to announce the good news. The grief is part of the testimony. The fear is part of the joy. You carry both as you go. We've spent this whole Lenten season doing just that, looking honestly at hard things, sitting with uncomfortable questions, not rushing to resolution. And what we found over and over is that grace was already there. In the wilderness, in the doubt, in the suffering, in the places we were sure grace couldn't reach. It was there. It rose, and now it's loose. So now here is where I want to leave you today. Not with a tidy ending, because this story doesn't have one. It has a beginning. Easter is a beginning. What if the grace that has been finding you all through Lent, in the wilderness moments, in the doubt, in the grief, in the quiet things you almost miss, what if that grace doesn't stop here? What if it's already loose, already moving, already further out ahead of you than you realize? And what would it mean, really mean, in your actual life, in your actual week, to live like that's true? Christ is risen. Grace is unbound. Grace is unbound. Go and tell. Amen.
That's this week's episode of Peace Lutheran Sermons podcast. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.